Welcome to Real Geek Media. It is Thursday, October 17th, 2024. I am Hayden Stoll. We're here with Christopher Michael Blake and our special guest this week, Rocky Digati from Macabre World Podcast and Darker Arts Studios.
Hello, hello.
Happy to have you here this week. We are going to talk about Pulp Fiction this week. But before we get into that, Rocky, Christopher, what's new?
Hayden, I can tell you that it's getting colder outside because I have icicles growing on my balls. Just it's getting very chilly out there, and I know this weekend's supposed to warm up, but it's getting frostbite down there.
It's too cold in the mornings. Yeah,
it really is.
Anybody brings up a witch's tit, I got two of them.
There you go. There you go.
You know what, though? You guys are soft. I'm telling you that right now. You're soft. Because I'm originally from New England. I'm from Bristol, Rhode Island. And what New Jersey thinks is winter and what is actually winter, two different things.
Yeah. That's what they say. Like when we see the past couple of years where Atlanta would get all this snow and it would be like a dusting and they would just forget how to drive and everything. So, yeah, it's funny.
Well, one of the things I remember folks from like non-wintry areas asking me, like, wow, have you ever driven in a blizzard? Well, absolutely, all the time. What's the scariest thing you can see in a blizzard? Well, first, you don't see anything in a blizzard, but what's the scariest thing you see in a blizzard? Florida plates.
Yes, 100%.
Always behind that guy.
Or New York.
100%.
Or New York. they're the worst
100%.
Drivers.
Yes.
I think it depends on where you're in New York. I think Manhattan drivers and the rest of New York need to be separated.
They love the left-hand lane. They
really
love it.
They
really love it.
And that lane's not for everyone, but they seem to find their way into it frequently.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you know what a quarter pounder is called in Europe?
With or without cheese.
Look at the big brains on Rocky. So look, this
Le Royale.
Oh yeah, this week is the 30th year anniversary, right, for Pulp Fiction?
I believe it's this week. Yes.
Yes, it is this week, and of course, Bruce Willis, of course, has dementia now, right? He's not doing so well. It's really a shame.
Yes.
I mean, he's one of the actors I grew up watching, and he really does a
South Jersey native.
Oh,
yes.
Who can forget his song that he came out with? I forget the name of it off the sudden, but it was.
Who can forget? I forgot.
I forget what it was. But he had that crazy song he was singing. I mean, back in the '80s, it was pretty good too.
Bruno something.
Yeah, when he was on all those Seagram's wine cooler commercials.
Is that right? I totally forget
that and Moonlighting.
But I mean, he was such a really good actor. Yeah, he was such a really good actor. And
I did.
Yes. Yeah, it's sad what's going on with him now, but like he shaped like that part of the action hero of my youth as well. So it's like, when you see him show up in this, and before we get into any of that, like it's it was nice to see him in this where he's sort of like the underdog in this, and he's not like the the typical action hero. He needed a lot of luck and things to roll his way for some of the things that went down in the movie.
He's definitely lucky he wasn't it. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the conglomeration of anti-heroes in the movie.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting because I guess the story goes how he got into the movie. Are you guys aware of how he got into the movie or no?
Tell it.
Not at all.
So he was I believe he was watching football, and Tarantino showed up, and he told Tarantino, "I read your script, and I really want to be in this movie, and I want to play the role of Vincent Vega." And Tarantino's like, "I can't give you that role. Read the script over again and let me know." And he reads it, and he goes, "No, I really want to be in Vincent Vega. That's the role I really, really want to do." He's like, "No, I can't give you that role. It's already promised to Travolta." Read it over again, and what would you think about playing the boxer? And that's when it kind of clicked that he was going to play that role. Yeah.
it's interesting. Like, I'm sure everybody's going to, they read that script and go, I want to be this, because that's probably the coolest role in the movie is the Travolta role next to Samuel L. Jackson. But,
I'm going to say Jules is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then, the boxer, while that part of the story, I feel like slows down a little bit, he's got a great part in this movie. That Butch part is a really good part. But like you talk about the cast, you have John Travolta, Ving Rhames, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, Harvey Keitel, Quentin himself is in this.
Christopher Walken.
Yes.
I forgot in these conversations. Yeah.
I have to ask, how many takes do you think he had to do to get that whole monologue correct? Because I'm sure he didn't stop. I'm sure he just went straight ahead and just did it. I don't think he stopped at any point in time. I wonder how many takes they had to do to get that done. That's one of those questions we'll never get an answer to, I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's a really cool movie. Like, I was not familiar with Tarantino when this came out, right? This was 94.
Mm-hmm.
And, at that time, I wasn't kind of veering into this type of genre, right? I was more like action, horror, So when I got to college is really when I started to appreciate this and Reservoir Dogs and really kind of get into Tarantino. And I think maybe one of the first times I saw this movie was with you, Christopher, in college in the dorm rooms.
I take full responsibility for that.
Yeah. So I could blame you for my whole Tarantino library that I have now. So, it was definitely like, it looks like a talky movie. And then you actually watch it. It's like, oh man, this is really good dialogue. These are really interesting stories and they all kind of cross and converge. And, it's like shades of gray. Like you had said, Rocky, a lot of really cool anti-heroes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool because, they're all, you could root for, even though they kind of cross each other at some points, like Butch and Vincent, you kind of like both of them, and you're just like, oh man, this is not going to go good for one of them. And, it's a terrible way to go in the bathroom, but
like Elvis.
Yes.
I think my favorite scene now, let me just interject the one thing when you're talking about deaths on the toilet, and that's a pretty, common thing. I think my favorite scene from The Sopranos is when they're at I can't remember the name of the character, but he was like a captain and he dies. It's how Christopher was able to get
Gigi. Yes.
Gigi. Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
But now my last name is Digati and I grew up, my dad's family is Sicilian. And I remember this scene where they're at Gigi's funeral and all the guys are up against the wall standing around in their suits, there's Stevie shrugging and, Silvio shrugging and everything. And I always thought that throughout the entire series, Paulie Walnuts was like the Greek chorus of The Sopranos. Whenever he came in with it. And everybody's quiet, who's kind of, shrugging around at a funeral. And then somebody always says this at any ethnic funeral. All of a sudden breaks the ice. He looks good. And then Paulie Walnuts goes, man, what a way to go. Right on a pishadoo. I hadn't heard that word since I was a kid. And that pretty much flattened me for about an hour. Great. But, what is a movie without a good toilet death?
There you go. Not wrong.
Hayden's
Game of Thrones had it too.
Oh, yeah.
Tywin Lannister, yeah.
What is the bottom rung of the toilet called?
The bottom rung.
There's a rung?
Yes, it's here at Real Geek Media. It's called our advertising department. So we have to interject now, right? We got to do some commercials, and we're going to promote you. But the first is, if your business is looking for an affordable way to gain and attract new clients, Real Geek Media Entertainment is now offering sponsorships on their podcast and website. Hayden, what's our current podcast sponsorship / advertisement program go for?
The low cost of $30.
Now that gets you 2 episodes plus our website plus us talking up your product and trying your product. $30 for something that's going to be on YouTube forever. Hey, Rocky, did we tell you we're famous in Russia?
I'm big in Europe.
Oh, wow. Really? Now,
buddy, I'm big everywhere. Come on.
We're going to shift now. We're going to just kind of talk. But if you wanted to advertise with Real Geek Media, you go to www.reelgeekmedia.com. It's realgeekmedia.com. Check out our website. You enjoyed our podcast. You enjoyed our humor. This is for you. Rocky, you were just mentioning you're big in Europe. Now, you run the Macabre World podcast.
I do. I said I'm big in Europe. I'm big everywhere. I don't mean big as in like famous. I mean big as in I take up a lot of space.
That's not true. You lost a lot of weight, though, right? You lost.
I did.
How much did you lose?
110 pounds.
Good for
wow.
You. Good for you.
Congratulations.
370 if you count the biggest life improvement I had. But anyway.
Understood with that one. Yeah. Now, that's all based off the Darker's Art Studio, where
correct.
You do interviews, arts, culture. I know I was a guest on your podcast.
Anything that's a little dark, strange, unusual, anything curious about this world. We've talked to folks. I talked to Nico Clos, the vampire of Paris, who is noted for being a convicted murderer and cannibal.
Wow.
And also remarkably polite. And there's some fun quips in that episode because I treated that with the reverence you might imagine. I've had the pleasure of talking to a dear old friend of mine. I'm from Rhode Island. I was a member of the Atlantic Paranormal Society when we all met at a Starbucks in Warwick, Rhode Island, before there was a TV show and everything. And I had a chance to get Carl Johnson from Taps, I used to call him and his brother the Demon Twins because they were identical twins, Carl and Keith Johnson. And Carl was a pretty scintillating guest. He had a lot of great information, and he and his brother were the first on the scene to investigate the Conjuring House back in the 70s. So he had some great stories to tell. I've had folks from Paranormal caught on camera. I've had Brian Cano on the show, and Dan Sturgis has been on twice. And I had a chance to see his stuff, his tour over at the Merchant House in Manhattan. It's been a lot of fun. I had a chance to talk to authors. I've had a chance to talk to actors, and a little bit of everybody. I think the cannibal was definitely in his own category. And but something interesting about Nico is that he has reformed himself and is now doing through art. And Darker Art Studio is really in its essence about art. I'm a professional musician. I'm also a professional artist. I do fine art as well as what I'm noted for. But Darker Arts, of course, is noted for human bone jewelry.
Now, you had the number 7 podcast for horror at one point. Is that number got to number 5 or 4? Or?
No. Not yet.
But it's extremely popular. That's what I'm trying to say.
It has
right?
been. I've been very, very grateful for all of the support that I have received. And folks really enjoy it. I enjoy doing it. So you got to come back on and talk a little bit more about, because you get some new stuff happening.
I have a lot of stuff coming up, but Hayden, you had a question before I cut you off rudely.
Train of thought, help me out.
Talk about the bone jewelry. Let's talk about the jewelry shop with the real human bones. By the way, this is real human bones, right, Rocky? You go into the backyard of the cemeteries and dig these up yourself.
Oh, yeah.
How do you come up with
this? Thought, but I'm not a criminal. Thank you. No, actually, and it's no secret. They are retired medical specimens. They come from osteological and teaching supply kinds of places. I work in the medical field. These sorts of things are hanging in classrooms and stuff like that. And what happens is that after they hang in medical schools, they end up getting, not unlike when old cars, they end up getting sold for parts for various reasons. And in 49 of the 50 states, it is legal to own and sell bones. And in 2 of the 49 states, the bones can't cross state borders. It's only intra-state.
Interesting.
So in 47 states, it is free trade. I can ship to you, you can ship to me. In 2 states, that's Tennessee and Georgia, I cannot ship because they only do trade within. And this has always interested me, in the state of Louisiana, it is 100% illegal to buy, sell, trade, own, possess human remains.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow. Now, I was going through your website, looking at some of your beautiful jewelry. Now you have human metatarsals.
Metatarsals. I got metatarsals. I got metacarpals. They don't cost an arm and a leg either.
Yes,
We're gonna get better as the beer goes down.
Bone humor. I love it.
Can you show us some of that for the audience? If there's anybody actually.
Sure can.
Let me see what we got.
For all you kids watching at home, these are bracelets, and the bracelets feature carpal bones from the wrist. So you can enjoy the irony. This is hard to be your Vanna White when you're kind of looking in the mirror. Like you. The irony of this is that you can wear a wrist bone on your wrist. Yeah, there we go. And these are those are all carpal bones, and I don't know if you can see they're set in resin, and they're adjustable. Another thing is, let's see what else we have here. This is a human cervical vertebrae. This is C2. This is known as the atlas, and that's got a little bit of a, it's very happy to see you. Because I know you guys love that seat of the pants kind of humor.
There you go. There you go. 6 to midnight.
I told you I got my trooper glass, my Iron Maiden trooper, so we'll say it's 2 minutes to midnight. The atlas and the axis are the cervical 1 and 2 vertebrae. They fit together and they hold up the base of your skull. So this is actually C2. This is the axis. So if you don't want anybody hugging you, you wear this, because they're gonna get it right in the bread basket there. This is a C4. This is a cervical 4 vertebrae. This has turquoise and silver, and this would be in one of your neck vertebrae. And let's see what else we have. It's like a surprise for me too. They wouldn't let me in the Sicilian Club if I did not have a kneecap.
Nice. Ooh. Yeah.
And that is a patella, and that's just sort of a simple setting. I have some that are a little more intricate, but this is a kneecap. And it's interesting when you look at some of the bones, you can actually see that, bone is porous. Bone, not the one set in resin, but actual bone, when you wear it against your skin, it picks up the oils and the pH in your skin, and it's going to get a patina that's uniquely yours.
Wow.
Interesting.
So a lot of people say, well, do you bless the bones? No. Do you have, any kind of, are you worried about, bad karma from the bones? And here's the thing, just going with that whole concept, they're porous. They're taking in your essence. So if you get bad karma from your bone, it's you. It's absolutely you.
Rocky, can you tell us where we can find your products as well as the Macabre World podcast?
Absolutely. You can find it at www.darkerartsstudio.com.
Wow. Okay.
Or as we say in Rhode Island, darkerartsstudio.com.
Take a shop right at the light.
Take a shop right. No, you're not gonna take a shop right. You're gonna bang a Louis or a Ralphie. And you don't take a turn, you bang a Ralphie. Bang a turn. You gotta put your blinker on first.
Wow.
My cousin from Boston.
Nice. Nice.
Talking about Pulp Fiction, I guess it's like divided up into 4 different stories, right? 4 different kind of time frames. The first, I guess, is Jules and Travolta talking about the foot massage. So I have to ask you, Rocky, because you are our first female guest on this show.
I can see why, by the way.
It's not for lack of trying. I'm just going to let you know. Is a foot massage equatable to sex?
Well,
The
I
holiest
think
the
it
holiest.
entirely depends on the woman because, and this is a generic statement. I will make a personal opinion, but to start off, I think it because some people are very ticklish, and maybe some people that translates into a whole other vibe, or maybe it just irritates the shit out of them. You don't know. Some people are funny about having their feet touched. You ever have a dog try to clip their nails? Some people are like that. Okay. Me personally, I am foot neutral. Well, no, it doesn't do anything for me. It's not gonna, I mean, if someone, I'm not crazy about like too much pressure in that arch. That kind of hurts, and anybody going around sucking toes is just not for me. But but if you do, you just suck your toes and be yourself. But for me, not so much. No, you want to get me, it's a neck massage. But yeah, I get that some people would probably get very turned on by a very, I guess, capable foot massage. I don't know.
Noted foot massage artist Tony Rocky Horror.
Is there any doubt that Tarantino has a foot fetish?
No,
I mean, there's several of his movies. There are feet prominently displayed. I can think about Once Upon a Time. There's Margot Robbie in the movie theater. She's got her feet. Kill Bill. In this one, you got Uma Thurman running around on the stage.
I thought he had an ear fetish.
I gotta say, it's a foot fetish. I mean, he's even talking about this fetish in this movie. That's just my opinion. What was the Dusk Till Dawn?
Dusk Till Dawn was a big one. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, granted, he didn't write that, but I mean,
I got to tell you, I'm straight, and I got any kind of fetish Salma Hayek wants. She is so cool. Have you ever seen her in an interview? She's brilliant. She's absolutely wonderful.
I have not.
Gorgeous woman, funny.
Yes.
Yeah, she's the total package. So anyway, sadly, I'm straight, but if I wasn't, that's where I have to have my celebrity crush. I love her. I think she's great.
I think you picked a winner right there.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, definitely. But yeah, I agree. I 100% believe that he's got that thing on full display, and when they talk about this is what the catchiest thing for me, and I think the thing that really caught me by surprise the first time I watched this is just how good Tarantino does dialogue, and and there's so many quotable lines that they just stick with you, and you still quote them back to this day. You could say "Bring out the Gimp," you could say all these other things, Royale with cheese, Ezekiel 25:17, and you could just do the whole spiel.
The righteous, yeah.
I think it's whenever somebody says, "Are you okay?" I just want to look at them and go, "No, I'm pretty far from okay."
Yes, 100%. But that's it really caught my ear and my eye. Just the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then, Christopher's just like, oh, let's watch Reservoir Dogs. And I'm like, okay, let's watch that. And so we go down the rabbit hole. Next thing you know, we're going to see From Dusk Till Dawn and, all those subsequent.
One of my favorite movie soundtracks of all time is From Dusk Till Dawn.
Wow. Okay.
I love Tito and Tarantula.
Yes.
I think Tito Larriva is amazing. And I've never seen him live, and I really, really want to.
And it's cool that he was in the movie.
Yes.
Too, which was cool. And he gets killed.
Pops up a few strange Hollywood places. He was in Desperado.
Yes.
And,
he's
like a secondary or tertiary Danny Trejo.
Yes. Kmart Danny. And he
who stopped by my booth the very first Monster Mania I did.
Oh, nice.
Is that right?
Nice.
Yes.
And that scene that Tito's in, where this is like an iconic scene from Desperado, where he meets Antonio Banderas meets Salma Hayek, and they're across the paths. The guy, and he's running behind him with chasing him, and then he spins and double guns the whole Robert Rodriguez special.
Yeah, very much so. I think El Mariachi overall was a better movie. But I liked that the way they did. I think Desperado I thought was had some great moments like I said, I love Tito Livia, and an interesting cameo by Cheech Marin as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm a huge fan. I mentioned, I made some funny Italian ethnic jokes. My mom's Portuguese, and I grew up in a very Portuguese area, so I had RTP. So I knew who Joaquin Almeida was, the one who played El Bucho.
Okay.
He's a very, very famous actor in Portugal and on RTP. And it was kind of neat to see him do more mainstream stuff.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, nice. Now the Christopher, you were talking about the 4 different storylines, and just kind of how they weave, and this, it's done like to perfection in this movie. And what spawned after Pulp Fiction is you started to see a lot of movies try to do that same thing and not even close to meeting it. But, this spawned a lot of those types of knockoffs and imitators. And they just, you could see they were really trying hard to do something similar to it. And it just, Tarantino just has a knack for kind of weaving stories like this. What was your favorite story? Either one of you?
In this one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll give you the. It has to be when they're in the house, and Travolta has to hit her with the adrenaline.
Mm.
And that scene is just. I mean, you have is that Rosanna Arquette?
Rosanna Arquette.
With all the piercings, and she's like enjoying
all the
it.
Shit in her face.
But she's like enjoying this. It's like a Friday night out. It's like I want to see what happens. And you got Eric Stoltz, who's like, I got from my black book, and where's it at? And
I need to shout out Bronna Gallagher.
Yeah, she was the other.
I think technically they say Gallagher. Bronna Gallagher, who a lot of people recognize her, but they don't know why. She was in The Commitments, and she was Bernie in The Commitments, and I thought that was a really fun place for her to show up.
Nice.
I know who she was, yeah. But that for me, I guess they had to film that scene where he gave her the adrenaline in reverse.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I had no idea. I found out later on, like everybody else, but they had filmed it. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, I was actually talking with my wife about that. We were doing Pulp Fiction this week, and she had, she used to work in a movie theater. And when that movie was out, she had said a lot of people would get up and they couldn't take it. They would get up and leave because of that scene with the adrenaline shot. And you get that thud when it hits the chest, and people would just, nope, I'm done. I can't, I'm out. I'm out of here.
But it's just not only that, it's the dance competition. You got basically John Travolta from Grease, doing the Jackrabbit Slim contest. You got the great soundtrack. It's like Urge Overkill doing Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. It's just the whole build up from the foot massage to this date. And then, hey, look, you're going to go out. You're going to be polite. You're going to drink your drink. You're going to go home. You're going to jerk off. And that's all you're going to do. And it's great.
It's such a real guy dilemma, that moment, that type of moment. Yeah. It is 100%. And like it's nailed. And Travolta's great. And Uma Thurman is so good in that. And this is like really the thing for me that put her on the map. She'd been in like Dangerous Liaison. She's been in other things, but really this movie really for me just was like, wow, she's really good, and those scenes with at Jackrabbit Slims where they're just having a conversation are interesting. And like, it's just, that's a good storyline. That is a really good storyline. Don't be square.
Rocky, what was your favorite part of the movie? I mean, in terms of the 4 stories.
Oh, I'd have to say it was the wolf. Now, does anybody remember what his lady friend played by? What's her name? Julia Sweeney. Do you remember what her name was?
I just saw the movie too. I just watched it yesterday.
Yes, I did it over the weekend, and I can't for the life of me remember.
I'll give you a big hint.
Was it Al?
No, Rocky.
Oh,
As in me,
there you
How
go.
was it?
For her name was Raquel.
Raquel. Yes.
Say goodnight, Raquel.
Yes.
Good night, Raquel.
That's what he said. Yeah.
And I always thought that was cool. But I liked that they had this mysterious fixer character. But I think I would have to say that the most interesting full storyline, and that was kind of more of a moment, is the boxer, is Butch. And it's not so much Butch himself, it's all the people he encounters.
Yeah.
I think that the cab driver is interesting.
Yeah.
She's very interesting.
Mysterious, and
she's getting off on like the whole like violence thing.
Yes.
And then he has this sort of like dopey French girlfriend.
Oh man.
But she's innocent. She's like an innocent, and she's so very sweet and very innocent. And I was looking at it all and I said, there's almost, and this is going to be a controversial comment, but there's almost a Passion of the Christ to it, of what he goes through, the people he meets, the trials and tribulations. I think there's very much, they're trying to give you like the greatest boxer story ever told.
Wow.
It's really, it's something. It's a throne fight, but he's prideful, and it's just like he even says it, like they keep underestimating you, and that is it. He really conveys that, like, just through him sneaking around, and the looks on his face, and when they get to the pawn shop, he realizes, all right, Marcellus is down there, but I could get away, but I got to stop what's going on down there. He's really like a character you can root for and you underestimate, but he just comes through every time. Really good character.
Zed's dead, baby.
It's not a motorcycle; it's a chopper. Yeah.
Zed, his name escapes me. That actor, he pops up in so many little things too. Oh God, I can't.
It's not more than Frank Whalen for sure, right?
Well, Frank Whalen, he looks like Seinfeld at that scene in the apartment.
Peter Green.
Yes. Yes.
Good job, Rocky. Yeah, good job.
And he was in the other one that's jumping right to my head is Usual Suspects.
Yes.
As Redfoot. But you recognize him when he's on screen, and he was he's always a bad guy, right? Like he's always up to something. He just has that kind of I guess face and demeanor. But that scene, the pawn shop, you think that
there's a lot going on there.
Oh my gosh. You think he's got it. He's gotten away. He got the watch. He took care of Vincent. He's in the car, and there's Marcellus. Jams on the gas. Bangs a Louis and Marcellus. And now
Kathy D. Gifford's over.
They're in a little chase, and then he ends up at the pawn shop, and that is like, the worst possible move that he could have made. But the stuff going on there, it's just like.
Does anybody know who played the Gimp? Does anybody know what he looks like? No one does.
It's Art the Clown.
It could be anybody. But I mean, I think, when people talk about intensity, I think it's interesting that the scene where somebody is getting an epi to the heart. I'm a retired ambulance medic. That didn't squeam me out at all. Okay. But it upset some people enough, like you said, to walk out. But they could watch what happened to Marcellus.
Yeah, right?
That was far more disturbing.
It was brutal.
Absolutely brutal.
Yeah, brutal. And just
I think boxing is brutal. I'm not a fan. I mean, I don't protest it. I just don't participate. And all. But I found that to be horrific.
Yeah. It really it takes it from okay, we're in this chase scene, and now it turns it into, okay, those two people that were just, one chasing the other are now like, you don't even know what's going to happen, right? You have no idea. They're like all in the basement, and there's
Nobody saw that coming.
No.
Least of all Marcellus.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, everybody just probably in the theater watching this was probably just like, what is happening? What is going to happen to these guys?
He's gonna what?
Yeah.
I had no idea what a gimp was.
There's a gimp.
Yeah,
and he's wearing like a leather suit with a zipper mask, and you're just like, what?
And while you're trying to process that,
yeah,
the biggest, baddest guy in the movie gets assaulted.
Yes.
And that's crazy.
Yes.
I think one of the things that was interesting is I look at Tarantino, and I don't mean this to delineate any of the credit he's gotten. I think it's well deserved. He's not afraid of unabashed, unadulterated, horrific violence. In fact, I think it's a huge part of what he does. And I think he was like, almost like a shock jock. Like he wants to shock you. He wants to ruin Steelers wheel for you. He wants. Look, I loved that song. And he's not afraid to be controversial. He's not afraid to be weird and violent and raw. And I think that there are some movies that do weird, violent, and raw just for the sake of it, and it's for shock value. He manages to make it purposeful in the plot. And I think that's what sets him apart, is that it's not gratuitous.
And I think that's a good point that you bring up, because that's something that has been in many of his films subsequently. And most recently, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you go through that entire movie and there is very little violence, very little. And then you get to that final act where, they show up to the house, and it just, in a span of like maybe a 5-minute scene, it's ultra violent and it's over. And, it's also similar to what he did with Inglourious Basterds. He changed the ending of the real events. And, it just, it's something that he does. And, a lot of people say, oh, his movies are so violent. It's like, okay, well, it's a small section of his movie that is ultra violent, but the rest of the movie is a buildup to something like that. And like you had said here, he's not afraid to do it. And, that's, it's meaningful when it happens, right?
It's a mind game too, because I think Chris, being a writer and is gonna, definitely want to chime in on this. I've dabbled in a bit of writing myself and stuff. When you're looking at plot structure, what you get people to imagine in their heads is 10 times worse than what you show them. And that's where I think Tarantino flips the script. He says, you know what you're imagining? I'm going to show you 10 times worse than that. It's the worst thing you can think of? Yeah, no. Here you go.
I want to ask both of you one question. I need an answer from both of you. What is in the suitcase? It's okay because nobody actually knows.
Right.
So if you want to give in your opinion, there's no right or wrong answers. It's just your opinion.
This is like, what is it, Repo Man? What's in the trunk?
Yes, 100%. It's the Repo Man thing.
It's almost like a nod to that, really.
Yes. You open it up and there's the light coming out of the suitcase or the briefcase. This was one thing. Like, this was in college. This was, you recall, you go to the library or one of the computer labs on campus, and we would look, and some of the things that I would go there, it was like, what's in the briefcase, right? And you just start going down the rabbit hole. All these people have these theories on what this is, what's in the briefcase. It's Marcellus Wallace's soul, and he's got the Band-Aid on the back of his neck, and that's where his soul escaped, and it's in the suitcase, and it's 666 is the combination to the briefcase. There's so many things that it could be. And I was always stuck on, well, it's his soul, and you go down that route, and it's like, I don't know if it's really that deep, but the fact that it
assign like a celestial thing to Jules and Vincent, then are they archangels then?
Right.
It's gonna get strange.
Yes. Yes. And it's like, did he intend it to get weird like that, or was it just something he just wanted to leave out and let you make up your mind what it is? Because that's more interesting than what it actually is.
For lack of a better term, I think it's just the mind fuck that is Tarantino.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's true. That's his jam. That's what he tries to do. It's really funny. I had no such lofty thoughts when I saw that scene. I thought it was like gold bars or something.
Right. Yeah.
I was like thinking, yeah, well, maybe that's gold bars.
Yeah. And for anybody who has seen Repo Man, it's the first thing you think of when the light comes out of it. You're like, oh my God, Repo Man.
Yeah.
And I don't know. But what do you think, Christopher?
I always just thought it was maybe a religious relic or something. You start with Jules on that religious kick in terms of the miracle that's performed. And Travolta's like, it's not a miracle, man. You need to kind of get off this. And he can't shake it. He wants to go wander the world, a la David Carradine. And
like King and Kung Fu.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, wow. We're going there.
But, I mean, that's Jules's, hey, this is like a significant event in my life. And Travolta says, no, it really wasn't. And what happens to Travolta next, if you go back into the time frame, obviously it wasn't shot that way, but he gets blown away because he sticks around. He continues to devolve and to stay with these people. And Jules was the one who was smart enough to walk away. That was the signal from God to say, hey, it might be time to move on. That's the way I have always kind of pictured it in my mind. Just, again, no right or wrong answers. It could be gold bars. I know initially in '94, that's what I thought was gold. Then I thought maybe it's
something reflective. Yeah, I didn't have a really like ethereal thought about it. I was trying to think like more physical and practical.
Yeah, again, that's what I thought too at the time, and I thought maybe it's drugs, money. I could have been so many different things, and I just recently rewatching it. The first thing I thought was religious relic because of Jules's aversion to violence and what he does at the end to Honey Bunny and Tim Roth. He's like, hey, I really don't want to shoot you. I'm trying hard to be a better person. I'm trying to be more than just some cool phrase before I blow your head off.
I want to shout out Amanda Plummer in that scene.
Yes.
Oh, she's
so
brilliant
good.
in everything.
So good.
And I think she's highly underrated.
Yes.
She is so annoying in that scene. And I just her voice still just grates on me. It's like, oh.
But what's interesting is because that's the opening sequence is you meet, Tim Robbins, Amanda Plummer in the diner, and it's all dialogue, just talking, shooting the shit, having breakfast. And then they start going into, we'll rob it in a diner. Let's rob the diner. Let's get the wads. That was a good idea. Let's go through the wads. We made more money off the wads than we did the registers. The next thing you know, they're robbing the diner, and boom, we cut right to the opening credits and movies started. And then we pick up later on when, Jules and Vincent are having breakfast after the debacle, picking up the briefcase. And now our characters are crossing again, and we get a standoff. And, like Christopher was saying, Jules has his epiphany, and he just, listen, I don't want to resort to, I want to kill you. I'm gonna let you go. And it's an interesting scene. Because that's not what you expect. Because when we meet Jules, he's all business and has no problem, just executing people. And all this is happening in the course of a morning, right? Like for them, which is interesting because, this is the very end of the movie, but this is just a couple hours from when we saw him last or saw him at the beginning of the film.
The initial viewing of the movie for me was kind of wild because the timeline is whack.
Yes. And
it was probably, I think, one of the first movies I saw that took that many liberties with continuity. And it was difficult. I think it's one of those movies that the more you see it, the more you see.
Yeah.
You really, because at first, when you first see it, if you remember the feeling after you saw it for the very first time, at the very end of it, you kind of go, what just happened?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and I think that it was such a good movie. It does bear many rewatches, and you know, the more you rewatch, you see things. The context evolves.
Yes. Yes.
Do
Okay,
you
Chris.
guys have any final thoughts about Pulp Fiction 30 years later? Because there's one last question I want to throw at both of you before we go to the box office totals from last week. In case you don't know, Rocky, we just kind of cover the movies that are going to be coming out in the next 2 weeks and the movies that just came out in the last 2 weeks. We make a projection and throw a number out there in terms of how much money we think they're going to make opening weekend. But I have one question for both of you regarding Pulp Fiction before we do that. And get your final thoughts.
Final thought, man, this is for me. This is the movie that you know started me down the Tarantino fandom, and you know I'm very thankful that Christopher showed this movie to me in college, because it really just opened my mind up for this type of film and you know, plot and characters. And, you know, it's just been, it's a great entry point because it is a masterpiece. You know, going back 30 years. And, you know, I don't think he's topped this film since then. So absolutely, it's a must see, you know, whether you're into it or not, it's a must see. It's a great film, great performances, great actors.
Rocky?
I think it's neck and neck with Dusk Till Dawn for me. I love both, and I love his work in general, but I think those two are my favorites. But I think one of the things that, especially over a 3-decade span, you can say about a movie like Pulp Fiction, it's not just that it's quotable. It's not just that it highlighted cultural, you know, idioms of the time, is that it has become timeless in and of itself, that each time you watch it, you get something different and relatable out of it. And I think that's what makes a classic, is that, you know what, any movie can be splendid the first time you see it. This movie is splendid the 31st time you see it.
It is.
And at all. And so, you know, I think that's what sets it apart.
So I don't know if you guys are aware or not, back in 1994, this movie did not win Best Picture. Do you guys remember the movie that did?
Ooh, 94? Schindler's List?
It was not Schindler's List.
Private Ryan.
Was not Private Ryan, but the same actor was in there. Forrest Gump.
Oh, yeah.
So my question to you both, is Forrest Gump a better movie than Pulp Fiction 30 years later?
I'm going to say no. I watch Pulp Fiction multiple times a year. And I haven't looked at Forrest Gump in maybe 15, 20 years.
So for you, Pulp Fiction is a better movie. Okay. Rocky?
You want lobster, you want ice cream. You can't make that decision because they're two different things. I think these are apples and oranges. And I've always thought award shows were just crap anyway, because a lot of it seems to be very commercially motivated. I think a lot of art is subjective and that sort of thing. I mean, not that it isn't nice to receive awards, accolades, and recognition. It is. But I think a lot of it, especially when you get into that level and we're talking Hollywood and box office response and all that stuff, I think it all gets to be more political and commercial than about the art itself. I think both pieces, I mean, like, you know, who's a better artist, Picasso or Michelangelo? Mm-hmm. It's apples and oranges. And for me, I can't really compare the two. I love both movies and I quote both movies. And I think just like Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump is a movie I can see and get something else out of it the next time that I see it. And both had amazing soundtracks too.
Oh, you're absolutely right. But for me, it's I think they made the right call back in '94. Forrest Gump is just the magical movie. You've experienced magic in that movie. And that's so hard for a filmmaker to do nowadays, that you don't get often enough going to the theater. You know,
it's hard to get people to go to the theater at all.
I love going to the movies. So I can't. I mean, I'm probably considering going to see Smile 2 tomorrow. I'm like, do I wait till next week or do I go tomorrow? I'm like,
Well,
I don't know.
You got to look too. I mean, Forrest Gump made everybody feel good.
Yeah.
And you don't get that.
Make everybody go, what? I think some of that goes into those decisions too.
Moving on to the box office, Hayden. We had 4 movies we reviewed for last week. We made guesses based on what we thought they were going to do. And the last 2 times I had creamed Hayden. Wasn't afraid to admit to it. I creamed them. However, this week, Hayden, you are the new box office champion.
Nice.
The first movie we reviewed was Joker: Folie à Deux. I said 20 million. You said 30. The actual opening weekend was 37 million.
Surprising it was that much.
Yeah. Terrifier 3 was the second movie. You had guessed 6.5. I guessed 8. We were both wrong. It came in at 18.9.
Massive.
The third movie, which we grossly overestimated, was The Apprentice, the Donald Trump movie. I had guessed 9. You had guessed 8. It actually made only 1.6.
Wow.
I
realize that politics is a verboten subject, but I have a generically neutral comment to make. Why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? At this point in time, at this time, what our exposure is outside of the theater is enough. I think that maybe it didn't require an admission ticket to see what they wanted to see.
Well, we were a little confused because Reagan opened the month before and it had opened in such big numbers. It made like 11 million over the opening weekend. And we were both shocked because we didn't think it was going to do anything.
Yeah, that definitely screwed with our numbers on this one.
Yeah, so it definitely screwed us in terms of where we thought it was going to end up, another Republican-type movie. And
I look at it this way, too. Right now, I can't turn on a TV and see Ronald Reagan. But I turn on the TV, and because we're in a very pivotal time for political exposure, he's all over the place. So, I mean, like I said, I think in some cases, I'm not saying, completely neutral comment. There's a lot of exposure outside of the movies. So I'm not sure anybody would seek out a movie because they can get their fix elsewhere. Easier.
The last one, Hayden, was the Andrew Garfield movie, which is, I guess, now infamous for them going overboard with their sex scene. We Live in Time. They did, right?
Wait. Back up. I have not heard of this movie, and what else did they? The last time I heard the sex scene went really crazy was Last Tango in Paris, so it's been a minute.
The actors on set said that they had trouble stopping when the set coordinator told them to stop. I guess at that point, it's a love movie. He falls in love with this girl. It's very romantic. And she develops cancer. They're having a hard time conceiving, and she has a baby. It's very heartbreaking. Apparently, it only opened to 5 theaters. So that definitely screwed with our numbers because I had guessed 11 million because I thought people would be looking for something more romantic. Hayden had guessed 9, but it only played in 5 theaters and made $225,000. So Hayden almost takes it on a technicality this week, in my opinion.
Win's a win. In 2 weeks, you're going to look at it as a W.
So they have this. They got this really emotional story about cancer and miracle children, but everybody's talking about some kind of scene where it's like an overly zealous visit to Pound Town.
That's what the actors are talking about. I have not seen it.
Listen,
this is not,
I think it's an attempt at getting people into the seats, and it didn't work. Or maybe it just wasn't in enough theaters. I don't know. No screens were showing it. But I don't know. I mean, if you're into seeing Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh,
I don't know.
I'm good.
I don't have any idea who they are.
Well, Andrew Garfield.
I'm still trying to recover. Right? It took me a week to eat butter after Last Tango, so
the 4 movies we have this week to look at, Hayden, are we'll start it off, and I'll let Rocky go first if she wants to make a guess at what the opening box office weekend number is. Venom: Last Dance.
Oof.
If that's a tough one, Rocky, if you want to punt to Hayden first and let him go first.
Yeah, I you know what? I'm so deficient with movies. I mean, somebody had to tell me they have talkies now. I don't go as often as I did when I was, when it was less accessible, like now streaming and all that stuff. I think the last movie I saw in the theater, I could make some kind of crazy joke, but true story, it was Maverick.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, I like that movie.
I wanted to see, and Maverick was the first movie I'd seen in the theater in at least 10 years.
Wow.
So
like
I
that
tend to
movie, yes.
not be too hip on this. So I will definitely defer to Hayden.
Okay. Venom Last Dance. This is supposedly the final Venom movie with Tom Hardy and Venom. I don't know if I know the first one was very, very teetering on not great. The second one was not good. This one does not look good.
No.
See, this could be another weekend where Terrifier just kind of builds up more money. I don't know. Nobody's going to see Joker. That's gonna be on digital in a week.
Anybody come up with anything new recently? Because this is all stuff that's sequeled and rehashed and
Yeah.
Wild Robots did pretty well with this theatrical run, and that's now just hitting digital now.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. People are gonna see this thing. That's. I just don't know if it's gonna be big. I'm gonna say 20.
Wow. Okay, that's a low number. If I really didn't like you, Hayden, I'd go 21. I'll take a guess and say 32. I'll give you a little bit of a sporty chance with this one. We'll put some distance between us. I think superhero movies, especially Deadpool, Wolverine, that may have gotten people a lot more excited to get back into the theaters. Venom's still a very popular character. Tom Hardy is a good actor, despite this looking terrible.
I like Tom Hardy, but I hate him in this role. I absolutely hate him. I cannot understand a word he says. Like, I need the subtitles on when I watch Venom. I can't understand him.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's my guess. Rocky, you want to give us a guess for Venom? Last Dance.
12.
12 it is.
Well, I'm just hearing all this negativity, and I really don't know anything about anything. So I haven't the most uneducated guess. So I'm just going to go 12. I want to lowball it just so you guys look good.
I'm shocked that they're making a third one of these things. And do we know how much the second one made?
I don't know.
Let me see if I can pull it up. Let There Be Carnage. All right. Let There Be Carnage made $506.9 million. So
yeah, they had to back up the price.
So this one's going to make money. I don't know. The trailers don't do anything for me. I'm going to stick with my number.
Okay.
You'll probably win, but
the second movie is the Ralph Fiennes Pope movie that's coming out. I don't know how many theaters this is going to be in. It could be a very limited production. This is called Conclave. It's very dry, kind of reminiscent of the
John Lithgow in this too.
I believe so. Yes, but very much plays
Gary
the older.
Busy.
I feel like this should be a Gary Oldman movie.
What is this? Is that like is that like where they pick the Pope?
Yes. Yes, Conclave.
Oh, come on.
Conclave starring Voldemort.
It's like the Vatican Fight Club. The first rule of Conclave, we don't talk about Conclave.
They get together and they're slapping each other.
Well, I mean, it just, I thought we saw this.
Black smoke.
I thought we saw this on Netflix last year with Two Popes, right? I mean, this is basically almost the same movie, in my opinion. So I don't know how big of an audience this is going to be. Can Ralph Fiennes actually carry a whole movie by himself at this point in his life?
You will lose, Harry Potter.
Yeah. I'll give you my number first, Hayden. I'm going to guess 6. I'll go 6.
Yeah.
Again, just remember, this could be a very low theatrical run, too.
I'm going to go 3.
All right.
Just because I don't think it's going to be in a lot of screens.
How much is the admission at the average theater?
$12.50 if you go during the day, $15 at night.
All right. Let's do some math here.
Again, you got to think older, kind of.
30. My mom and one of her friends will see it. She has a friend that's like a nun. They'll probably.
Is that $30? You bet.
$30.
$30.
$30.
I know my mom and one of her nun friends will see it.
$30. Okay.
Sold American.
The third movie is the one that Mr. Blake wants to see the most, to be Smile 2. I love Smile, the original. I thought it was very good, very well done, but it's the right time of season for it. I'm gonna go 8.9. I don't know why that 0.9 came from, but 8.9.
Here's the interesting thing with Smile 2. We're hot off of Terrifier 2 wrecking everyone at the box office. And this is another, I mean, the budget's like, what, figure 20, 25 million. Lower budget horror movie, right in the wheelhouse, mid-October. I'm thinking you're going to see like 15 to 20. I'm going to go 17.
Wow. Okay. Would that be $30 again, Rocky?
No, I at least 45. I might go. I think that when you, especially with the horror franchises, I mean, Chris and I have done a few horror conventions together. While the average person may not be interested in it, there is a very dedicated niche to this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And while some of these movies rather make hundreds of millions of dollars, I think there's at least a core number that they can almost depend on, because some of these people will go and see the sequel to whatever because they want to talk about how crappy it is.
It's fair.
So even when the movie isn't good, I think it gets some numbers because, like I said, it's part of this cultural underworld of horror fans who want to be able to discuss it accurately, and they want to be the first one to say it sucks or whatever whatever the deal is. So I'm going to come up with a straight up 32.
$32 or 32 million?
32 million.
There you go.
Movie.
There you go, Rocky. The last one is the Tom Hanks, Robin Wright Penn movie. I believe that's her name. From here, it's going to be also premiering on digital on Apple, but I guess they're also doing a limited.
Is that out already?
It comes out, I believe, this week.
Wow!
If it's not this week, it's the week after.
Tom Hanks movie without triple digits.
But again, this is going to be premiering on Apple. It's set into a family setting in terms of them using AI to make them younger and then advance their age, and it's not really them at this point. It's they're all, it's like filmed from like the inside of like the living room of a house.
Yeah. So
it's almost like a play in that type of, from what I gather. Yeah.
This is is this Robert Zemeckis?
It is.
See, this is a tricky one, right? You have Robert Zemeckis, you have Robin Wright back together, Tom Hanks. We were just talking about Forrest Gump. I don't know.
Have you seen a lot of commercials for this, though?
That's what I was just going to say. Nothing.
I haven't heard. I mean, people would be clamoring if this was up there with Forrest Gump.
So the buzz is low.
So I don't know. Like, so it's I don't know. I mean, I think it'll do pretty good, but
how much of it does streaming take away too?
That's going to kill it.
And nobody gets Apple. I mean, I hate to say that, but that's what it's premiering on. So it's Apple. No one uses Apple Studios.
No.
How many theaters is this actually going to be in on top of that? Yeah.
Did you say 52?
52.
52?
52, Rocky. Go ahead there, Hayden.
I'm going to say, I'm going to go 33. And you're going to say like 8.
No. So my initial reaction was 25. And then I said, that's way too low once Rocky came out 54. And my second guess was going to be 32. Yeah, and then you kind of ruined that when you said 33, and I'm like, oh, that really just it took the wind out of my sails. I almost want to bet like $1 at this point, just to be the Price is Right. Guess the final contestant there.
There you go.
I'll go 25. I'll stick with my initial gut reaction on this and say that maybe it doesn't play in as many theaters. Hopefully,
yeah.
That's
a tricky. I really feel like if this was marketed more, it would. I mean, because Tom Hanks is a big star,
right?
And you're teaming back up with the people that you worked with in Forrest Gump 30 years ago. Like that alone should be like, oh my God.
People want to see them both on screen again.
Yes.
Even though it's a different story and different characters, they're favorites together.
Now listen, if it ends and she has AIDS and gives him AIDS and has the kid, I'm going to be like Forrest Gump 2. Like, come on, Forrest Gumps.
It's Jenny.
Yeah, I got no comment. I like to tell you this, but what's the last big movie that Tom Hanks has been in? I mean, look, he made the naval battle one for Apple again, which I guess nobody saw. A Man Called Otto, nobody saw. I mean, that was good, but that was maybe 10 years ago. I was going to say, so it's been a while.
I told you not to put the movies off.
He's done a lot of those Apple movies lately. I guess they had a deal with that studio, but those are just they're forgotten movies. You see them once and you never need to watch them again.
But that's movies today in general for the most part.
Yeah.
Which, bringing it back to square one, sets Pulp Fiction apart.
Yes.
You can watch it over and over again and get something out of it.
Yes.
Good point, Rocky.
Yes. Tying it all together.
Rocky, go ahead and give us a plug one more time before we call it a night here. Where can people find your podcast and where can people find your bone jewelry?
You can find the Macabre World podcast as well as the Darker Arts Studio, home of the real human bone jewelry. You can find that at www.darkerartsstudio.com. And upcoming, if I may.
Yeah, please.
It's actually, this is live. So tomorrow in Swedesboro, New Jersey at Cedarville Winery, actually it's Logan Township, is a night market from 6 to 9, and I will be vending there. And for the big to-do of the spooky season, I will be at the Supernatural Soiree. I'm one of 12 vendors vending at the Supernatural Soiree. That's going to be on the Battleship, New Jersey. And that's going to have some of the folks you recognize from the TV shows on Discovery. It's going to have a paranormal investigation. It's going to be a hauntingly good time.
Zing.
And I'm looking forward to it. I was just featured in their charter magazine, Ghosted Magazine.
Very cool.
For jewelry. So those folks have been very, very helpful as well in bringing a little spooky into New Jersey, as if New Jersey, and I think we can all agree, isn't weird enough on its own.
That's very true.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for joining us, Rocky. We really appreciate your time tonight. And
I'm so sorry I'm going to miss the bathroom humor of the news, but
look, I can't even begin to tell you where it's going to be starting off. I can't wait. I'm already plotting and scheming over here.
I don't get one little hint, just a little hint.
I can't give it away. I got to save something for people to tune into.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure, gentlemen. And
Thank you.
I hope you had a good time. I hope you had a good time, and please come back again. We would love to have you on again.
Yes,
very much. My best to the lovely Jackie and to you and yours. It was wonderful to meet you, Hayden, and hope to see you again soon at another event. Chris and I vended at a lot of the cons together, and it's always a good time to run into the whole crew there. And I hope you guys have a most delightful fall.
Yes, you as well, Rocky. It was
have a
good
pleasure. Halloween,
Rocky. Just remember, you got a bone to pick with me.
Oh,
the little one.
Yes.
Very little.
On that note, This has been Real Geek Media. Thank you for joining us for our Pulp Fiction review. Our special guest, Rocky Digati, author Christopher Michael Blake, and myself, Hayden Stoll. Everyone, have a good night. We will see you shortly with the news.